next on our agenda is a roundtable discussion to talk about how visibility can drive better collaboration between shippers and carriers. And I would like to invite on stage to please join me now 4 of our guests. Sebastian Samuel from Renault Group, Transportation and Business Development Director. We saw a video from Renault. Sebastian, please join us here. Next, we have Bertrand Moyer, CEO at STI Freight Management, a freight forwarder. Yes, Bertrand, welcome. Join, perhaps next, like that, I can sit here. Thank you, Sandro Paravizzini. We just saw him for the awards. He's joining from V1000, the CEO of V1000, a carrier based in Belgium. Yes. And last but not least, our ocean expert, Lars Jensen. Please come back to share some more wisdom. Here we have very, very, very smart minds, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting. So as a first round of introduction, a quick question to all of you. What was the impact of the recent supply chain disruption for your business? And we'll start with you, Sebastian, if you don't mind. As a shipper, how did you live through this?
Good morning, everybody. As you know, we have been exposed to a series of crises, which were interesting because they were multiform. It started in 2020 with the pandemics. It was new because it was a plant stoppage and supplier stoppage. So we had to manage that and to manage the start over. Then it continued with the so-called electronic component crisis. It was new too because in that case it was some components that were missing. And we want to, for sure, manage to find components, then allocate to the most profitable products, and then execute perfectly. And you see where visibility is coming, and we will discuss that. And now we are, as I heard already this morning, we are suffering from the driver lack crisis. And now it's very difficult to transport, and there visibility collaborations become a very key competitive advantage for that.
Yes, we touched upon it already in the awards. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Bertrand, now as a freight forwarder, what was the impact for you? It will turn on. It's okay. Keep the microphone. Okay. They turn it on at the production room.
Maybe let me answer your question first by asking a question. So then the key challenge we are facing now in the new world we are living with a lot of disruption is more how can we still, as a player of the supply chain, still can contribute to an assured supply. So that means there is many more reasons why to have disruption. And then that means that now we all have learned that just being good at our own direct performance is not enough. So to bring value to the supply chain and that the final consumer receives this product. So then beside our own performance, so we need to have something more. And this something more is directly linked to the visibility. So then because the purpose now is that we will all suffer of delay. We will have delay and depending the root cause. And what is the expectation of the supply chain toward us is to give proactive and accurate information regarding any kind of delay to allow all of the stakeholders behind us to anticipate in order to reduce or to avoid any consequence of the delay accelerated by this new environment. And the visibility is really helping us that way. And I would summarize saying, to be honest, the expectation towards the carrier or towards the freight forwarder is not only delivering on time, but on top of that is delivering on time and also delivering information. And not only information in terms of track and trace. Track and trace is good, but this is where is your track. But for us, at least, what was important is the ETA, because where the truck is okay. But the real information to anticipate and to find some workaround is really to tell the customer when the truck will arrive in case of a delay.
Thank you, Bertrand. Anything to add, Sandro?
Good morning. Well, there's for me as a carrier or for carriers in general, before March 2020 and after March 2020, it's a huge difference. Let's be honest. Now, I'm very glad. For me, for a lot of carriers, it was a change of mindset in general, general opinion that transport is very important. Very important for each company over the whole world. And for us was a good time. It's not about prices, it's not about costs. Now they understand that drivers, transport companies, they have to talk with them. And I'm also a dreamer, and some years ago I also wanted to offer my customers the real-time visibility, because we already had it, because our dispatchers work with it every day for the 20 years now. But now we offer them to see everything live. And I'm glad we have it, because for me, real-time visibility, that's a bit our new concept. We want to shorten the distance between the carrier and the customer. And I think we will discuss it. A lot of problems can be solved if we share data.
Thank you so much, Sandro. And Lars, now I turn to you. How do you, as an external analyst from your control tower, right, how do you sum up the impact?
Yeah, I would see the impact that we've seen since the pandemic hit. We could not forecast the pandemic, but ever since then, this has been a display in a train wreck in slow motion. We could not have prevented some of the challenges. We could have mitigated a lot of them if there had been data transparency, because there's a lot of dominoes falling. Let's make a very, very simple example. Pandemic hits, everybody says, don't move my goods. Fine, ships are canceled. Then all of a sudden people buy goods. Now ship my goods, you get a surge of cargo. That overwhelms ports, it overwhelms trucks, it overwhelms the number of drivers. It's been one domino after the other. So we could not predict the pandemic, but all the ripples since, they're simply dominoes, and an utter lack across all the modalities in sharing data well enough at an early stage prevented good tools from mitigating some of these impacts.
Thank you. And here we have so different perspectives of how the impact, what was the impact, and how the collaboration and the whole transportation supply chain industry was affected. Now, you each mentioned visibility and the importance of it. So let's take a look at how visibility can help collaboration, can help mitigate the effects of certain things. Sebastian, I'll turn to you. I know that for the last 2 years at Renault, you've been building a collaborative platform that involves both internal and external stakeholders. How do you see visibility helping to improve collaboration?
We have been working with ShipPO from 2020 on. This is what you said, and this was the technology part of the thing. So we implemented the track and trace with the carriers. We implemented the tools. This is important. This is hard, but this is just a tool. You said, Bertrand, that what is important is visibility. And what is important is ETA. This is true, but for us, this is even not enough. Knowing that the truck will arrive at the right time or will be late is not enough. We need to know what is the stock position of the part which is in the truck, and we need to know if this is a problem or not. And this begins to be a collaboration problem, because you need to make the people that work in supply, work in transportation, work in the plant, collaborate around a tool that help us give them autonomy to collaborate. And for that, visibility is a key, but you need to manage the change internally to make people work together, share the same KPI, share transparency. I agree with what you said. Transparency is the key word. The event is called visibility, but by visibility, we all mean transparency. Do we trust each other, and can we work together? And the second point is external collaboration. So big part of the work of the team that were involved in the project was making carriers and the shipper, us, work together, because collaboration with bad data is nothing. This is shit in, shit out. So HMR mentioned it. We had a great work with the carriers to make it work, and this is very important. So it triggers collaboration.
Thank you. And Lars, we see there is a resistance, right, to onboard, to use visibility. Can you maybe help us share understanding, to understand where it comes from? What are the root causes?
I would say the root cause stems from a very clear lack of trust between all the different parties in the supply chain. This is not new. This has been here for decades. And maybe to put it into a context, the way I see it, I saw a big surge, I'll say roughly about a decade ago, from a lot of shippers saying we want visibility. When I was then probing the shippers back then in terms of, well, I want to know where my cargo is. I said, okay, what are you going to do with it? And at that point, shippers hadn't thought it through. The problem they were faced with, they didn't trust their transportation providers to tell them if something was wrong, which meant that it was only at a very, very late stage they were told if nothing goes according to plan, and it was too late to do something about it. Where we are now beginning to see a shift is it's not a matter of just providing the visibility for the sake of visibility. It's for the sake of alerting people very early, we need a plan B. And that requires trust, because this might be a bit black and white, but in the old days, the transportation provider would tell the shipper, all is good, don't worry about it, and they were working frantically in the back room in the hope that they would make it on time, and if they didn't, you had a calamity. Today, it's not as much scrambling in the back room, it's more a matter of saying, we're going to scramble in the back room tomorrow unless we come up with a plan B we agree on right now.
Thanks for this perspective. Sandro, Bertrand, do you have something to add on perhaps the change of mindset or what you think?
I think Lars has a good point. I think visibility, real-time visibility, for us, it makes us more competitive, I must be honest. And also, it's all about trust. Because if you share data, you have to trust each other, you have to respect each other. It's all about a bit integrity, I think. And you have to use it, both parties, to have more rentability, I think.
Yes, I fully agree with all what I've said before. But we have to keep in mind that with visibility, we are talking about a quick technology change and impacting the culture, the old times. And we know that historically that the transport sector has never been, until now, the most advanced sector in being agile and easy with any kind of technology, so that we have to take that into consideration. But we need also to, let's say, to support our carrier to really understand this necessity of change, to let them understand that we are all now part of a larger big whole, which is our contribution to the sugar supply, what I was mentioning. And of course, so then we have to develop our own actions to convince them, talking about pedagogy, so then helping them to understand their new role in the supply chain, helping them to understand the side benefit for them. So this morning it has been said, so less phone call, etc. So then they will also have financial benefit of jumping into a visibility solution. So then we have a lot of things to do, and but for sure there is still some position of resistance, but I'm quite optimistic. It has been also said this morning that we are more learning from a crisis than from easy times, and this is making obvious for all of the carrier. And there has been a good example with the award this morning. Probably, so this not have been the case before. So then we all understood, all stakeholders, in particular the carrier, that this is the future even for them.
Thank you, Bertrand. I know, Lars, you want to jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on that, because one thing that's also important to keep in mind is that visibility tools, no matter which ones they are, don't provide a competitive advantage on their own. They create the foundation for a competitive advantage, but the advantage then stems from the skill and the quality of the people that use the tools.
Thank you for clarifying this. So we see that it creates conditions, the necessary conditions for. Sebastian, we've been talking about challenges, right? So the trust, the collaboration. What are there specific challenges? Because at Renault, you do road, ocean, you do several types of transportation. Are there specific collaboration challenges for different modes of transportation?
Yes, for sure. We already talked about road carriers. So we had a great piece of work with the road carriers. It took some time. I agree with what Bertrand said. As a shipper, we have a responsibility to show the benefit, to share the benefit, and of course we put the GPS track and trace condition in our RFQ. So you cannot be a carrier for Renault if you don't use Shipeo. This is the point, but it's not enough, because you need to share benefit and to make the understanding of what this can bring to collaboration. So, for example, you said there is less phone call, but there is an opportunity to be quicker on understanding what are the incidents, understanding who is responsible for what, and share the cost in the right way. So there are benefits for everybody. So on the road carrier side, we have made progress. Obviously, not everything is perfect. We still have to work together. On On the ocean side, I'm afraid I will not be so optimistic for the moment. I said visibility is transparency, and I feel that on that type of business for the moment, the famous sentence "information is power" is still the motto, and we need to work with the company to share more information and to make them understand that there is a mutual benefit in sharing and preparing for what will happen. So we are not still there with ocean, but we are working on that.
Great. Anything else to add on the challenges before we move on? I think plenty of it was covered already. Now, so let's look forward. Let's look forward. And Sandro, I will turn to you. As we've just seen from the Chivio Awards, from the Carrier Awards, you've already achieved a certain level, a very high level of visibility, 95, you said. And you said we need to go all the way, right? So what are the next steps in collaboration?
Well, we always talk about visibility, but it's much more than visibility. I think a big challenge for carriers is, first of all, to elevate or relighten the profession of the truck drivers, because without truck drivers, they will not be needed. It will be a problem. Secondly, with real-time visibility, Chipio portal, we will expand it with the digital CMR, other documents, photos, etc., etc. But we also want to involve the end consumer in the real-time visibility story, that they also can follow their goods, see when it will be delivered. It will be less stressful for our dispatch and more hopeful for them who will receive their goods. And we also want 100% visibility. So we will provide also our subcontractors with our own PDAs, so that we can follow them, but also that our clients can see everything. So Chipio has to become a bit the window of V1000.
The window. And Lars, what do you see perhaps as the trends for the future? What do you observe?
What I'm seeing here in terms of where we're going, that there are two key challenges that needs to be addressed, especially, and I agree, on the ocean carrier side, because that they are probably the ones that are the furthest behind the curve on this. One is technical, one is non-technical. The technical one is agreeing on standards, something as simple as that. The carriers acknowledged that before the pandemic, set up the DCSA to set standards. And when I say standards, it's something as simple as agreeing on when does a ship arrive in port. That's the level we're talking about. They have agreed the standards, but they haven't implemented them yet. That is a clear challenge. That has to be done to move forward. The second challenge is non-technical and relates a bit to what we discussed about before, that the carriers need to find the mentality that it's okay to share information, even if your performance is not what you promised to start with. It's better to know than not to know. And that's more a mindset and a business process challenge than a technical challenge.
Mindset requires, I guess, that we communicate and share, right? And that the whole market moves in the right direction. So now let's take a moment to collectively dream. There are some dreamers in the room. I know you are part of them. Let's collectively dream. What are the big opportunities for collaboration in the future? Let's start with you, Sandro.
We have a lot of crises, but I'm also a dreamer and also very positive. I think, or I'm sure, that every crisis is an opportunity to change something in a positive way. There's a lot of challenges and a bit electrification of the trucks, the hydrogen trucks, the shortage of drivers, a lot of problems, challenges. But I think if the collaboration for everybody is on a higher level, and I mean a high level, that we talk a lot, that we share information, that we can see how can we, for example, if you see sometimes we do road transports, how many times a week that we deliver 1 or 2 pallets on the same address every single day. Then we are talking about road traffic, about the environment, but that's also something we have to change. People have to think that everybody can change something. There's also a virtue, that's patience. the customers don't have patience. We all have the dole.com mentality. That has to change, that has to disappear. So if we work together, we can make together good changes, and the costs will be reduced for everyone.
Thank you, Sandro. Who wants to go next? Yes, I see people clapping. They agree. They agree. Good dreams, Bertrand, next.
Yeah, maybe I can add something so that with the new visibility technology, I would say we have set the basis of additional things which can say they are dreams, but I would say dreams because I think we could achieve things very short term. Now we have the basis, we have the collaboration, and we can talk about how to give visibility not only to time, but to shipment integrity, to temperature monitoring when it comes to a temperature control business I'm in. So then, and many others we probably have never think about before. So then, for me, very optimistic, already tangible dreams of very soon reality and even more to come.
Great, thank you, Bertrand. Sebastian.
Yes, I would elaborate on what Bertrand said. We have the tool. This is more and more shared, and the numbers of carriers that are here in this event is a good proof of that. What we want to do at Renault is transform it in a real collaborative platform. Means we want to share, we want to be transparent, and we want to extend it. And I think the opportunity is really to extend the ecosystem. We are talking about carriers, road, ocean. What we want to do is being able to share with our plants. This is easy, this is internal, but we would like to share with the plant other suppliers, the parts, and extend the ecosystem, extend the understanding, because as Lars said, it's better to know than not to know. So sharing the understanding is a key, and this is a big opportunity for us.
Thank you, Sebastian. Lars, I turn to you for the concluding comment.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to dream and go forward, I would focus not on, because all the gentlemen here have done it so well, on what are the known problems that we can solve. I would rather look at known problems so we get new ways of solving and things we don't even know. The middle category first. Context is, if we look at container ships, you've got a major fire on a container ship every 2 weeks on average. This is a major issue. A lot of these fires seem to stem from misdeclared cargo. Fireworks, for example. There's been an intractable problem for decades. What I could dream of is, that's great, live trackers and everything. I can see that container of T-shirts. The empty container moves from the depot to the fireworks factory to the port and is manifested as T-shirts. I see there is a path to solve some of these intractable problems, let's call it that way. But what excites me even more is the solutions we cannot see yet. Because once we get this plethora of information, there will be new opportunities we haven't thought of yet. So to give an example, obviously not from this industry because we don't see them yet, but think back to the 1990s, there was a boom in cell phones. Everybody got cell phones. And the benefits were obvious, but nobody at the time thought that, hang on a second, this could help us predict traffic jams, which is what we're using some of the data for now. So I'm pretty sure out of this visibility comes fantastic new opportunities we haven't even thought of yet.
Great, thank you so much, the four of you. And I think we have a few minutes. So perhaps if you have a question in the audience, now is the time to ask and take the benefit for everyone to hear. If you've been wondering, and wanting to ask anything to these for people here, raise your hand. It's now the time to reach out and challenge them, dream together. Very shy. Well, there will be time for discussion later during lunch. Thank you once again. There is, yes, Anand, go ahead. Yes, we will pass on the microphone to you.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was very informative and interesting. I'm of a certain age where I remember collaboration was talked about for the first time. Walmart back in the day talked about CPFR, if you know what that is, Collaborative Planning and Replenishment Frameworks, where they exactly talked about this kind of a collaboration where Walmart had definitely had a big stick, and therefore they were able to insist on their suppliers that we will share our forecasts with you. You then share your forecast with us so that your raw materials, procurement, etc., is informed by our forecasts of what people are going to buy off our shelves. 1995. I age myself by telling you that. Now, what is different now? I mean, obviously, the same conversation is taking place and continues to take place. And back then also, the trust was the big reason why that failed, actually. I feel that this is different today. What is different in your opinions? I mean, I have a shipper and a freight forwarder and a carrier and an expert sitting. I don't think I'll ask a better panel than you guys to say, what's different now and why will it work going forward?
I see Lars ready to take
I mean,
the word.
one thing I would point to that is very much different now is you have alternative ways of getting that information today. You didn't have it in 1995. Let me give a very tangible example. Ocean carriers are still, I think the diplomatic term would be piss poor at providing predicted ETAs. But that has also led to the emergence over the last 12 to 24 months of multiple providers using AI, just looking at the AIS, whereas the ship, using AI to predict ETAs that are typically more accurate than what the carriers themselves provide. So to me, that's an example that what's different now is you got alternate sources of information, which means that any party out there that don't really want to collaborate and provide information, they're going to be undermined with data from other sides. They'll have no option but to proceed down this path.
What I would add is I think that your question also was related to sharing the forecast in terms of procurement. What has changed, at least for us, is twofold. The first is we are requested to share an horizon of forecast which is much more longer than we were requested to. We were used to sharing a forecast for 9 months. We now have to go to 12, then 18, and maybe 24 months. So we are already at 12. We will be at 18 in a few months. And we will have to do more because if not, the suppliers will not deliver and they will choose other customers. So this is the first thing. And I do not even discuss the quality of forecast because I don't think really that something has changed on that, but we can discuss. And the second thing, we have to share this information with people we even don't know. Means that we are used to sharing with tier 1 suppliers, and we need to share it with tier N. And I can say that for most of them, we don't even know who they are. And this is very different and very, very difficult.
And just to support what Lars was saying, so I think the main difference today compared to in the 90s is really, first of all, the technology. So then we didn't have a common language. Now technology is a common language. The general culture also evolved due to technology. Everybody on the private side is more able or are used to exchange data, etc. And this has an influence on the business side. And listening from my own perspective, most business experience, this is for me in the transportation the first time that the whole supply chain is really affecting by a general disruption. Before it was very sectorial. The transportation was impacted, but not the supplier. Sometimes that was the supplier, but not the transportation. And now we are all in the same boat or ship or vessel, and everybody is recognizing. So then it's obvious that we need to do something because we are all suffering. And I think this is making the difference.
Great, Sandro. You do want something to add?
Well, I think why is collaboration now easier than before? I look in Belgium, I see that because everybody looks for good people to work. It can be a driver, it can be a dispatcher, something to load or unload. It's they are disappearing. I don't know where they are going, but we have a lot of work, but we don't find people. It's a challenge. So now we are obliged, everybody, to work together because we have to do the same of more work with less people. And that's the big challenge, not for us as a carrier, but also for shipper and so on.
Huge thank you to the four of you. Sebastian, Bertrand, Sandro, Lars, thank you so much for sharing your perspectives and your experience.